Okay. Yeah. Think about the classification of bryophytes. The bryophytes are majorly divided into two groups. One is the liverworts and second one is mosses. Okay, when you observe the liverworts are a little bit simple organisms when compared to mosses. Mosses are a little bit advanced when compared to the liverworts in structure and next okay in other characteristic features. And we are discussing about liverworts. So generally the liverworts okay usually grow in moist shady habits. Okay, that is on the banks of streams, marshy ground, damp soil, bark of trees, and deep in the woods. Okay, and next the plant body is thalloid like. Okay, and it is a dorsiventral and substratum. That means it will grow horizontally. Okay, it will grow horizontally. Okay, it will grow horizontally soil. That's why we are saying oppressed to the substrate. Okay, and next generally the plant, okay, the plant body grows in two rows with small tiny leaves, leaf like appendages. And next in these organisms the reproduction occurs by asexual method and sexual method. Asexual reproduction occurs by fragmentation and also some specialized structures called gemma or gemme. Gemma is the singular word, gemme is the plural word. Okay, and these gemme are formed on the surface of the thalloid body in the form of cup-like structures. That's why they are also called as gemma cups. And these gemma cups will form the structures called gemme. And these gemme, when detached from the parent body and fallen on the suitable area, they germinate and give rise to new individuals. And give rise to new individuals. So the gemme are helpful in asexual reproduction. Okay, they are like bud-like structures with the cup-shaped structures. Okay, these are bud-like structures that are cup-like structure that are developed on the thalloid body of these liverworts. Okay, and these in the later in due course of time, these gemme are separated from the parent body. Okay, when it falls on a suitable substratum, okay, they germinate and they give rise to new individuals. And next already we discussed about sexual reproduction. During sexual reproduction the male and female sex organs are produced either on the same or on different thalli. If they are produced on the same thallus, we are calling it as a homothallic. That means if both male and female reproductive organs, that is antheridium and archegonium. Okay, antheridium. Okay, if both antheridium and archegonium, which represents the male and female sex organs, if they are developed on the same thalloid body, we are calling it as a homothallus. But in some organisms like Mercantia, okay, the male and female sex are differently. That is, a male thallus will produce antheridium and female thallus will produce archegonium. So, as they are produced on different thalli, they are described as heterothallus. So, homothallus and heterothallus. Okay, that is it. And next, okay, and the sporophyte is a differentiated. That is, okay, the antheridium will produces the male gametes called anthrozoids, and the female, okay, female sex organs, that is the archegonium, will produces the, okay, egg cell. Okay, and the fusion occurs between the male and female gamete and results in the formation of diploid zygote, and this zygote will develops into a sporophyte. And the sporophyte is differentiated into three parts like a foot, seta, and a capsule. And next, okay, the sum of the cells that are present in the capsule will undergo meiosis, and okay, after meiosis, they are okay, they give rise to spores. Spores are produced within the capsule, and these spores germinate to form free living gametophytes. So again, the gametophytes are developed from these spores and continue the cycle. Okay, that is about this liverworts. Anybody is having any doubt regarding the liverworts?
Oh, sir.
Okay. Next, coming to the mosses. Okay, the another group. Okay, another group that is included under the bryophytes is the mosses. Okay, these mosses are considered as a little bit advanced. Okay, advanced group of organisms under the bryophytes. Why? Because we'll find a little bit complex structure when compared to the liverworts. Okay, in mosses. Okay, that is why, because we can see here the predominant stage of the life cycle of moss is the gametophyte. Okay, so when you observe here, what is the predominant stage in the life cycle of moss plants is the gametophyte. That is, in bryophytes, we'll find the predominant stage is gametophyte. Okay, even though the sporophyte stage is present, but the predominant, that means the most observable stage, that is the gametophyte. Okay, which consists of two stages. Okay, in case of liverworts, we'll have only one stage, that is the leafy stage. The leafy stage only represents the gametophyte. Okay, now that is. But when you observe the mosses, in mosses, okay, the gametophyte stage occurs in two different stages. The first stage is the protonema stage, which develops directly from a spore. So after a sexual, the zygote is produced, and this zygote, okay, will develops into a sporophyte, and this sporophyte also consists of a foot, seta, and capsule. And the capsule, some of the cells that are present inside the capsule will undergo meiosis and produces the spores. And these spores on germination, first they give rise to a primary stage or first stage called protonema stage. So the spores will give rise to protonema stage or first stage of the gametophyte. Okay, that is when you observe this protonema stage, the protonema stage looks like that of liverwort, the gametophyte stage of liverwort. That is, it is a creeping, green, branch, and a frequently filamentous stage. That means, okay, the stage will looks like that of, okay, the, okay, that is the protonemal stage, will looks like that of the gametophyte of liverwort. That is, it is creeping. That means it is grows flat on the surface of the soil. Okay, and green in color, photosynthesis branch like two rows. How in liverworts this stage grows in two rows. Like that, we'll observe certain branching structures, and it consists of filamentous structure. Okay, that is the primary stage. The primary stage or first stage, which we call it as a protonema stage. And the second stage is the leafy stage. Okay, the second stage is the leafy stage, which develops from the secondary protonema as a lateral bud. Okay, the second stage develops from the protonema. Some small buds are developed on the protonema, and these buds later develops into the secondary protonema. Okay, it will develop into a secondary protonema or second stage of a gametophyte. Okay, it is the leafy stage. Okay, the leafy stage will looks like this. Here we can see the funaria. Okay, this funaria, whatever the structure that we are observing, this is the secondary protonemal stage or second stage or secondary protonema. This stage we are calling it as a secondary protonema. It is the leafy stage. It consists of rhizoids, okay, stem-like structure, okay, leaf-like structure, okay, root-like rhizoids. The rhizoids of secondary protonema are multicellular in nature, multicellular rhizoids, and the main axis which looks like a stem, so stem like a main axis, and we'll find a leaf like a leafy stage. Okay, so that is okay. This stage represents the secondary protonema, or the second stage of a gametophyte, which develops from the the protonemal stage or first stage. Okay, that is. So the second stage is the leafy stage, which develops from the secondary protonema as a lateral bud. They consist of a upright, slender axis bearing spirally arranged leaves. They are attached through multicellular and branched rhizoids. This stage bears the sex organs. Okay, the first stage or protonemal stage do not have a sex organs, even though it is the it is the primary stage of the gametophyte. Okay, later, okay, the protonemal stage will form the buds, okay, which represents the secondary protonema, which later develops into the leafy stage, which consists of the multicellular and branched rhizoids. Okay, the main axis which looks like a stem, and the leafy structures which looks like a leaf, which are arranged spirally around the main axis. Okay, and this stage will form the sex organs. Okay, there is a antheridium and archegonium, which are represented by the male and female sex organs. Okay, that is about the structure of a mosses. And coming to the reproduction, vegetative reproduction in mosses is by fragmentation and budding in the secondary protonema. Okay, the secondary protonema produces certain buds which will give rise to the leafy stage of a gametophyte. So the primary protonema and the secondary protonema will observe. The primary protonema is the stage which is developed directly from the spores, and later it will give rise to the primary protonema gives rise to secondary, and this secondary protonema form the buds which will give rise to the leafy stage, which forms the sex organs. So the primary protonema and secondary protonema can undergo asexual reproduction by fragmentation, and the secondary protonema along with the fragmentation, it also shows budding, which is a type of asexual reproduction. Okay, but when you observe in sexual reproduction, the sex organs, that is antheridia, that is plural word, and archegonia, that is okay, plural word, antheridia, the plural word for male sex organs, and archegonia, the plural word for female sex organs. So antheridia and archegonia are produced at the apex of the leafy shoots. So at the tip of the leafy shoots, the leafy structures we are observing now. At the tip of these leafy structures, the sex organ, the male and the female sex organ, that is antheridium and archegonia, are developed. So the antheridia will produce a anthrozoids, which represents the male gametes, and archegonia produces the egg, which represents the female gamete. Okay, the fusion occurs between the anthrozoid and egg cell that is enclosed inside the archegonia and results in the formation of zygote. So after fertilization, the zygote is produced and the zygote develops into a sporophyte. Okay, that means the zygote will not immediately undergo meiosis. Okay, first it will produce a diploid sporophyte. And the sporophyte consisting of foot, seta, and capsule. Okay, the foot is enclosed inside the leafy stage of gametophyte. Okay, the seta is a long, slender, thread-like structure, and at the tip of this seta, we'll find a little bit swollen structure called capsule. Okay, that is. And next, the sporophyte in mosses is more elaborate than that in liverworts. Okay, that means the structure of a sporophyte is a little bit advanced or a little bit well developed when compared to the liverworts. Okay, that is. And next, the capsule contains spores. Okay, the capsule contains spores. That means the sum of the cells that are present inside the capsule will undergo meiosis and produces haploid spores. Okay, spores are formed after meiosis. That's what he's saying. So some of the cells that are enclosed inside the capsule will undergo meiosis and produces the spores. And these spores, when the conditions are favorable, okay, the capsule opens and releases the spores outside. So some elaborate mechanism is observed in case of mosses for spore dispersal. Okay, some elaborate mechanism is present within, okay, with respect to mosses for a spore dispersal. Okay, that is it. So some common examples of mosses are Funaria, Polytrichum, and Sphagnum. Okay, here you can see Funaria and Sphagnum. Okay, there is this is the Funaria, which represents the the mosses, and this is the Sphagnum. Okay, a little bit advanced of all the mosses, the Sphagnum. Okay, here we can see the main axis and the leafy structures arising from this main axis. Okay, showing certain branches. Okay. Okay, that is about this mosses. Okay, anybody is having any doubt regarding the mosses?
So can you once again recollect about the mosses, sir?
Yes. Okay, when you observe the structure of mosses, okay, mosses are represented by two stages of gametophyte. Okay, that means we'll find gametophyte stage and sporophyte stage. But within the gametophyte itself, we'll find two stages: first stage and second stage. The first stage we call it as protonema. Okay, the protonema will look of liverwort. Okay, like the structure of okay, this primary protonema. Okay, will looks like that of liverwort. That is, it is the leafy structure grows horizontally above the soil. And from this primary protonema, the secondary protonema will be developed. Okay, that means the primary protonema later develops into secondary protonema. And this secondary protonema will form buds. And these buds later develop into the leafy stage of gametophyte. That is the second stage. The second stage of gametophyte. And this leafy stage consists of multicellular branched rhizoids, and it consists of a main axis which looks like that of stem, and it consists of spirally arranged leafy structures which looks like that of leaf, and at the tip of this leafy stages we'll find the sex organs. That is the male sex organ, that is the antheridium, and the female sex organ, that is the archaegonia. Antheridia and archegonia are developed at the tip of this leafy structures. And next, when coming to the reproduction, okay, it undergoes both asexual reproduction as well as sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction occurs by fragmentation and bud formation. Okay, fragmentation is observed in primary protonema, whereas the secondary protonema or the leafy stage is formed from the buds from the secondary protonema. So budding, which is a type of asexual reproduction, is also observed in mosses. And coming to the sexual reproduction, okay, the sexual reproduction. Okay, we already said at the tip of the leafy stages, we'll find the male sex organs, that is antheridium, and the female sex organ, that is archegonium. Okay, the antheridium will produces the anthrozoids, and the archegonium produces the female gamete, that is egg cell or egg. The anthrozoid, okay, that means results, okay, this process we are calling it as fertilization, which results in the formation of diploid zygote. Okay, the diploid zygote develops into sporophyte. Okay, the sporophyte is differentiated into three parts, that is fruit, seta, and capsule. Okay, sporophyte of mosses is a little bit elaborate. That means a little bit well differentiated when compared to that of liverworts. Okay, still it is not free living. It depends upon a gametophyte for nutrition. And next, okay, some of the cells that are present in the capsule will undergo meiosis and produces spores. Okay, and next, when the conditions are favorable, then only the capsule is opened and releases the spores outside. So we'll find a little bit advanced mechanism of spore dispersal in case of mosses. So only when the conditions are favorable, at that time only the spores are liberated. And these spores, when they on suitable substratum, they germinate and they give rise to protonema. The first stage of gametophyte. Okay, that is. And next, some of the examples of this mosses are Funaria, Polytrichum, and Sphagnum. Understood? Anybody is having any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. And the next group of plants, okay, we have completed algae and bryophytes. Out of 5 groups, we have completed 2 groups. One is algae and the second one is bryophytes. And the group which are considered as the first terrestrial plants, complete terrestrial plants. The first group of plants which are completely terrestrial, which are described as completely terrestrial plants, are pteridophytes. Okay, that is pteridophytes. So these are considered as the first terrestrial plants. Okay, that is what is the reason, we'll discuss one by one. Okay, so the pteridophytes include horsetails and fans. Okay, that means they are commonly called as a horsetail. Okay, when you observe that horsetail, okay, how the horsetail will be looking, in the same manner these plants are observed. That's why they are commonly called as a horsetails. And fans, okay, the fans are the very, very important members of this pteridophytes. Fern, okay, generally these ferns are grown as ornamental plants in the houses. Okay, that is it. The pteridophytes includes horsetails and ferns. And next, when you observe the pteridophytes are used for medicinal purpose and as soil binders. Okay, there is a lot of plants that are included under the pteridophytes are having a medicinal value. And they're mostly grown on the hilly regions. Okay, in the hilly region, these pteridophytes are acting as a soil binders. That means they protect the soil from soil erosion. Okay, as already I told you, they are also frequently grown as ornamentals. Okay, for show purpose. Okay, for show purpose, they are grown in the houses. Okay, for show purpose, they are grown in the houses. That is ornamental. That's okay. Such plants which are grown for a show purpose in the house, such plants we call as ornamentals. Okay, as already I told you, evolutionarily, they are the first terrestrial plant to possess vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. So why the pteridophytes are considered as the first plants means? Because these are the plants which show the vascular tissues, xylem and phloem for the first time in the plants. These are the first plants with vascular tissues. That is xylem and phloem. Okay, presence of this vascular tissues is the primary character of terrestrial plants. That's why these pteridophytes, which possess xylem and phloem for the first time in the evolution of plants, that's why they were considered as the first terrestrial plants. Okay, that is. And we'll discuss about this xylem and phloem while we are discussing about anatomy of flowering plants. Okay, in the text. Already you might have known something, okay, information related to xylem and phloem. The xylem is involved in the transportation of minerals and water and minerals from roots to the upper parts of the plant body, whereas the phloem is involved in the transportation of organic material from leaves to different parts of the plant body, because the leaves are the sites of photosynthesis where food material is synthesized. So from leaves to different parts of the plant body, the food materials or organic substances are transported through phloem, whereas the minerals and water are present in the soil. So from the soil, they are absorbed by the roots, and finally they are transported to the xylem of the roots. And from the xylem of the roots, it is transported to the each and every part of the plant. Okay, that's why that's why this xylem and phloem, the presence of xylem and phloem made the pteridophytes to live on as a terrestrial habitat, and they are successful terrestrial plants. First successful terrestrial plant because of the presence of vascular tissues. And next, where this pteridophytes usually grow. The pteridophytes are found in cool, damp, shady places, though some may flourish well in sandy soil conditions. Okay, that's why generally they grow on at a hilly regions where regular rainfall, that is some cool environment is maintained, damp, that is some moisture is maintained, and the grow in shady places, though some may flourish well in sandy soil conditions. Okay, some may grow well in a sandy soils where a less amount of moisture is maintained. So some are growing in a damp places and some are growing in a hot sandy conditions also. And next, okay, you may recall that in bryophyte, the dominant phase in the life cycle is the gametophytic plant body. So, now only we discussed about the liverworts and the and mosses. In that, the dominant stage is the gametophyte, because that is the green in color, performs photosynthesis freely, where the sporophyte is not at the depends on the gametophyte for burial. And not that much elaborate, and it will be only for a brief period of time. Once the spores are produced, it will be die. Okay, the sporophyte will die. So here, in case of bryophytes, the gametophyte stage is the dominant stage, but However, in pteridophyte, the main body is sporophyte, which differentiate into root, stem, leaves. That means the plant which has shown, okay, the true root, true stem, and true leaf for the first time in the evolution of plants means that is the pteridophytes. And the plant body that we are observing, that plant body of the pteridophyte, it represents the phyte. And the gametophyte stage is not that much elaborate. Okay, it is restricted to a small structure. See, later. So the dominant stage, the predominant stage, the dominant and the predominant in pteridophytes is the sporophyte. That means the plant body that we are observing. If I'm showing a plant of a pteridophyte, okay, the pteridophyte plant body that we are observing that represents the so the dominant stage in pteridophytes is represented by the sorry, sporophyte. Represented by the sporophyte. So that is and this sporophyte has a well differentiated root, stem, leaf. The root, stem, two leaves are observed for the first time in the plant kingdom. These are the vascular tissues. The root, the stem, the leaf, all these structures vascular tissues. Okay, and next, the leaves in pteridophyta are small. Okay, that means in some of the plants that are included under pteridophyta, the leaves are small. If the leaves are small, they are called as microphylls. Okay, it is observed in case of Selaginella. Selaginella is an aquatic pteridophyte. It is an aquatic pteridophyte. It is an aquatic pteridophyte. That means it grows in water. Okay. And a large. Okay. And in some pteridophytes, the leaves are larger in size. Okay. Such leaves we call it as a macrophyll. Okay. Something you have to remember, the term fill refers to leaf. PHYLL. The term fill refers to leaf. Micro represents small leaves. It's observed in Selaginella. And in some the leaves are like ferns, which are terrestrial, which will grow on land. Okay, in these, the leaves are a little bit larger in size and are called a mash. Okay, this is Selaginella. Okay, Selaginella. Okay, these are the roots. Okay, this is the stem and these are the leaves. Okay, the leaves are usually smaller in size. That's why we call it as microphylls. Okay, but when you observe here, this one, okay, here we can observe the root Okay, stem and leaves. The leaves are usually larger in size, so we call it as macrophyls. Okay, here you can see the fan. Okay, the leaves are very larger in size, spiny, pointed. Okay, and next in case of salvinia, okay, salvinia is also a aquatic. Okay, so that is okay, but here you can see the leaves are very larger in size. Stems, macro, okay, macrophyls. Equiseta, okay, the leaves like this, but in Selaginella they are smaller and they are called microphyls. Okay, and next, okay, the sporophyte. The sporophytes bear sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. Okay, that is when you observe here. Okay, some of the leaves. Okay, some of the leaves in pteridophytes are associated with sporangia. That's why they're calling it as subtended. Okay, attached. Okay, that means some leaf-like structures are present. Okay, that is which are some leaf-like structures are present, and these leaf-like structures bear sporangia, and such structures we are calling it as sporophylls. Okay, and in some they are present separately. Okay, some of the leaf appendages, okay, they possess sporangia and they form sporophylls. But in some pteridophytes, okay, a group of sporophylls will come together and forms a compact structure. That means a fused structure. Compact means fuses. Okay, this is all these sporophylls will fuse and forms a compact structure called as a strobili. The plural word strobi. Okay, singular word strobilus. Singular. Okay, plural word strobili or cones. Also called as cones. Okay, that is okay. In some, what happens? The leaves, okay, the leafy stages, okay, or leafy structures will be attached with the sporangia and they present separately. Okay, in some primitive forms of pteridophytes. But in advanced pteridophytes, what happens? These sporophylls come together, they are fused and forms a compact structure called strobili or cones. In case of Selaginella and Equisetum, will find this strobili or cones. Next, what is the function of this sporangia that are associated with are strobili? Okay, the sporangia produce spores by meiosis in spore mother cells. Okay, this sporangia possesses spore mother cells, and these spore mother cells which are diploid will undergo meiosis and produces a haploid spores. Okay, haploid spores, and the spores germinate to give rise to a inconspicuous, small but multicellular. Inconspicuous. What is mean by inconspicuous? Can anyone say what is mean by inconspicuous? Anybody is having any
No, sir.
You don't know what is meant by inconspicuous. Inconspicuous. Conspicuous means clearly visible. Inconspicuous means not clearly visible. That means as it is very small and microscopic. Okay, that means the spores, when they are fallen on suitable soil, they germinate and they give rise to a inconspicuous, that is not clearly visible. Okay, because it is a very smaller in size, but it is a multicellular structure. And this multicellular structure is nothing but the gametophyte. Okay, free living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophytes called prothallus. So, okay, the sporangia that are present on the sporophyll, okay, possess spore mother cells, and these spore mother cells will undergo meiosis, and they produces haploid spores, and these haploid spores are discharged from the plant body, and when they are fallen on the suitable soil, they germinate and they give rise to a inconspicuous small thalloid body, which are free living, mostly photosynthetic. Okay, because they are green in color, they are they are free living and they perform photosynthesis. And these small thalloid structures we call it as, they represent the gametophyte stage, and this gametophyte we call it as prothallus. Okay, this gametophyte stage we are calling it as a prothallus. Okay, that's why. And these gametophytes require cool, damp, shady places to grow. That means a little bit more moisture in the soil. Okay, so that's why they need a little bit cool, damp, shady places to grow. Okay, because of this specific restricted requirement and the need for water for fertilization, the spread of living pteridophytes is limited and restricted to narrow geographical regions. So that means even though the sporophyte plant body can grow in a terrestrial, that means even a little bit hot and humid conditions they are able to grow, but the prothallus, which is representing the gametophyte stage of these pteridophytes, require moisture, require water. Okay, because the gametophyte stage in the later they produce gametes, and these gametes require water for fertilization. That's why, because of this conditions, the pteridophytes are not distributed all over the world, and the dispersal of these pteridophytes is also restricted because they are unable to grow in all conditions. That's why their distribution is limited. That's why they usually grow on hill regions where more moisture is available, regular rainfall is present. Okay, that is. So the restriction, the distribution of this pteridophytes is restricted because of this prothallus stage. And next, the gametophytes bear male and female sex organs called antheridia and archegonia respectively. Okay, the gametophyte stage. Okay, the gametophyte stage produces both. Okay, within the same gametophyte, okay, we'll find both male and female sex organs, which are represented by antheridium and archegonium. Antheridia male sex organ, and archegonium represents the female sex organ. Okay, and next, a fusion of male gamete with the egg present in the archegonium result in the formation of zygote. Okay, the antheridium will produce the anthrozoids, which are released into the released outside, and they will reach the archegonium, and these anthrozoids will reaches the archegonium, enters into the archegonium, fuses with the egg that is present inside the archegonium, and results in the formation of a zygote. And now this zygote thereafter produces a multicellular, well differentiated sporophyte, which is the dominant phase of the pteridophytes. Okay, this zygote now develops into the actual plant body that we are observing, which is represented as a sporophyte.
చేస్తాను క్లాస్ లో ఉన్నాను.
So, the zygote develops into a split, which represents the down stage of the pteridophytes. And next, when you observe here, in majority of the pteridophytes, all the spores are of similar kinds. Such plants are called homosporous. That means in most of the plants that are included under the pteridophytes, they produce only one type of spores. And these spores are germination, they give rise to gametophyte, and that is one gamete. In that one gametophyte only, we'll find both the sex organs. That's why such spores producing plants, we are calling it as homosporous. In most, almost all the pteridophytes will show homosporous nature only, but a few are exceptions. Genera like Selaginella and Salvinia. Selaginella and Salvinia, which produce two kinds of spores, macro and micro, that is large and small spores. Macrospores and microspores. Macrospores are larger in size, and microspores that are in size. And such organisms will produce two types of spores, macrospores and microspores. Such organisms we call it as heterosporous. They are differentiated in their structure and their formation. The megaspores are macrospores. The megaspores are macrospores. when they are fallen on the suitable soil, they germinate and they give rise to female gametophyte. They give rise to female gametophyte. Whereas the microspores, okay, when they are fallen on the suitable substratum, they germinate and they give rise to male gametophyte. So that's what we can see. The megaspores and microspores germinate and give rise to female and male gametophytes respectively. The female gametophyte in these plants are retained on the parent sporophytes for variable. Okay, that means they are not free living. Okay, this male and female gametophytes. Okay, that means the spores, they are not discharged outside. Okay, they will be still attached with the parent plant body, and these spores will germinate and they give rise to male and female gamete within the plant body. Okay. And next, the development of the zygotes into young embryos takes place within the female gametophytes. Okay, and next, the fertilization. Okay, that means the male gametophyte will produce antheria, antherozoids, and the female gametophyte will and produces the egg. The fertilization takes place inside the archegonium. Okay, and results in the formation of zygote. And this zygote will not directly develop into sporophyte. In between, we will find an embryo-like structure. Okay, the development of zygote into embryo takes place within the female gametophyte. This event is a precursor to the seed habit, considered an important step in evolution. Very, very important statement. Okay, that means okay, the female gamete. Okay, the development of zygote into embryo will take place within the female gametophyte. That is archegonium. Okay, this is the first step in the plant evolution for the development of seed habit. So this is the very important step in the evolution of plants. Okay, to give rise to a seed plants. So this is okay. So this is also the very important characteristic feature which represents the terrestrial habit. That is the production of embryo. Okay, this event is a precursor to seed habit, considered an important step in evolution. Okay, that is okay. These are the some of the characteristic features of pteridophytes. Okay, that is about this pteridophytes, the general characteristics of pteridophytes. Okay, tomorrow, okay, discuss about the classification. Okay, classification is only a brief. Okay, it doesn't have much importance. Just simple some examples and some groups have been given. That's it. Okay, that one we'll discuss in the tomorrow class. Okay, we'll recall once again overall pteridophyta. Okay, the general characteristics of pteridophyta, and later we'll go with the classification tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.